It's a good trailer in a vacuum. I think the main problem is this movie can't be what people hope it'll be because it's basically Infinity War without the build-up, and it's not so much Infinity War itself that made cinema history, but the huge journey beforehand that led up to it, not to mention that it's not as cute the second time around. Sure, the whole incursions thing and Battle World and Secret Wars are in the comics, so the sacred holy texts do Infinity Wars all the time, but I think that's neither a good thing nor an excuse to do it here. Plus, even if you've been keeping up with the MCU during its more current shit era, which I haven't, you don't care about most of these people. Shuri, the Thunderbolts, the new Fantastic Four, Captain African America, Namor. No one cares. I mean, I disagree with this entire project in its entirety. I should have led with that. The old folks getting this big send-off in Endgame with a big bouquet, their arcs tied up with a big blue ribbon, thunderous applause, confetti everywhere, only for them to come out of retirement at the first whiff of $100 bills. Sorry, I mean because we had a meaningful story to tell. That story being, according to the leaks, the same dumb shit they already pulled a couple times, horribly unsuccessfully, which, don't worry, I won't go into those in case you want to stay the completely spoiler-free virgin as opposed to the leak-reading Chad. But even without knowing the leaks, it's obvious to everyone that they're trying to replicate the old Infinity War Endgame combo. How else do you legitimize Doom as a threat if not by letting him kill 3 to 4 quarters of the cast and let him succeed in his mad goals just as Thanos did, as he does something similar in the comics, before you invariably bring everyone back just like Endgame did, unless of course you want to cast a grassy field as the hero in your next MCU movie. I'm sure at least some people will see this in the theaters and go, oh, so this is just Infinity War with Doom instead of Thanos. And I'm also sure that the studio would look at these types of reactions on the internet and go, ah man, that's true, we are repeating ourselves, but then how do we solve this problem? We're doing everything we can here, and the thing is they know how to solve it. Or at least they knew, and then forgot. Just make good movies. Good standalone movies before the big Doom event. Pun not intended. Iron Man 1 wasn't chiefly concerned with the 10-second Nick Fury cameo at the end, tentatively setting up a larger universe. It was chiefly concerned with being the best standalone movie it could possibly be. That's the kind of mindset that gave this film series such long legs to stand on. But several MCU phases and plenty of screaming goats, assassinated characters, bad sitcoms, and nothing characters later, those legs have been chopped down to tiny pig hooves. And again, the trailer itself is nice. It does the best job it can to hype you up for these confrontations, which is all this film will be. A bunch of first meetings, fights, and confrontations. And I'm sure Deadpool will also be there to put some color in the film's cheeks and make fun of the whole situation, but I don't think making fun of the situation saves the situation. The Steve scene was cool, Thor using 2-factor authentication to check if it's the real Steve, as some commenters wrote. Cyclops looks awesome, for the probably one scene he's in before they kill his ass yet again. Glad Tatum gets to play Gambit again, before he probably, of course, also dies. It's Patrick and Ian's last outings as Charles and Eric. That's the thing, this is supposed to be a big send-off for the OG X-Men, which sounds well-intended, but to me it kinda almost has the opposite effect, cause send-off means we'll kill a lot of them in this case. So no different than X-Men 3, which is, I mean, why bother? Poor Cyclops can't catch a break. Maybe he'll have a bigger role in it, but with this many characters, it's unlikely. On the one hand, this all reads as a bit disrespectful, luring in the actors back to their original roles with the promise of doing right by their characters only to kill them all off. Again. But on the other hand, the actors knowingly went into it, so I'm not exactly bursting with sympathy for them either, because the actor, much like the nerd, is a terribly predictable creature, gobbling up any and all breadcrumbs that fall from corporate commander's table. Somewhat understandably so in this case, because James Martin mentioned many times that he's a genuine fan of Cyclops and wished he had another go at the character to do right by the character, himself, the fans. But this movie probably ain't it. Marvel was supposed to reboot the X-Men and make them their own. Or the second option with a shorter shelf life would have been to keep the current X-Men for way more movies because of their legacy power. And Marvel rather greedily tried to do both, getting the worst of both worlds, keeping the old X-Men around for just one movie and killing the fuck out of all of them, while also delaying the inevitable reboot that's been on the horizon for fucking ever. This is basically a higher budget version of the Mortal Kombat 2 movie, a thin excuse to mash all your favorite action figures into each other. Like everyone already wrote, the runtime will be around 90% people meeting and villains sometimes fighting each other for the first time, 10% Doom killing them all. I do think it'll put asses in seats though. When the spectacle is big enough, you still go see it because why not, even if you shit on it after the fact. In fact, it might even put my butt in the seat, who knows? This is a very weird feeling I haven't experienced before. Generally, I don't bother seeing movies that don't generate at least a flicker of excitement within my cold husk, nor do I pay to go see films whose premise, the very conceit or idea behind them, I fundamentally disagree with. My morbid curiosity can go fuck itself, and this film unfortunately checks both those boxes. But in this particular case, I guess I'm just fine with seeing it for the sake of the spectacle, I guess. It's so weird, it's like I know I'll be generally disappointed with the movie itself, but I kinda just want to see the action figures bump into each other regardless. Never felt that way. Put it this way, would I watch a YouTube video pitting all the Avengers and X-Men and Fantastics and Marvel heroes against each other? Yes. And I indeed have. There's plenty of such videos on YouTube. Would I pay money to see that video? Normally no, but if the spectacle is big enough and high budget enough, I guess. But on the other hand, that's the real loss here. The MCU has gone from being a series of films, stories, a cinematic experience, to being content. This is basically the MCU switching its content up for a few years and losing viewership, then going back to the content that got it views in the first place, over-indexing on it and clickbaiting the fuck out of it, just hyper-optimizing everything for high click-through rate, low retention. And I'm not gonna sit here and pretend it didn't also have some plain-ass content in its initial phases, because even back in its heyday, there was plenty of that. The Incredible Hulk, Thor the Dark World, Doctor Strange, Black Panther. This was a common criticism even back when the MCU was highly regarded, that most of the films are too formulaic. It's the same plot with different characters, the same script with different names, far too much of it was safe, cookie-cutter bullshit. And it's just true. Come on, be honest with yourself. If you challenged yourself to binge the entire first phases of the MCU, you'd snooze through a lot of the films. But there were also plenty flashes of brilliance along the way, because they allowed themselves the time, the grace, and the patience to shoot for those high moments. Now they're rushing to those moments. You know, there was a time when we all praised the MCU and wagged our finger at the DCEU for being impatient and trying to rush to the MCU's high points too quickly and crashing and burning for it. It is the mother of all irony that the MCU now put itself in that same position. It lived long enough to... I swear, Jonathan Nolan got so much mileage out of that goddamn line. If he got 5 seconds anytime someone uttered it, he'd be king of the world by now. Unwilling to wait until they build up a new version of the X-Men. Unwilling to let go of its top stars. Scared of falling into obscurity. And charging down that chasm anyway. What was once a franchise of both momentous cinematic achievements and slightly more forgettable content has now fully crossed over into making just content. Repeatable, predictable, forgettable content. And that's a damn shame.